What is up, wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of the Smackdown Stew Report for August the 28th. We're 1 minute early. We're going to wait till 8 o'clock. Just wanted to make sure that everything is all good and dandy, and the microphone is set up. As you can see, I have a new great microphone. And today, we're going to talk about a lot of things. We'll just wait till 8 o'clock to kick it off. Just wanted to make sure all the equipment is right. So we're gonna, just wait for the equipment is right. And it is 8 o'clock. What is up, wrestling fans? Smackdown Stew here for another edition of the Smackdown Stew Smackdown Stew Report, live here on the Smackdown Stew YouTube channel and also streaming on Meet Me. If you're on Meet Me, you can look at my stream at Stewgatz, STEWGATZ. I'm also here live on the Smackdown Stew YouTube channel. You can like the Smackdown Stew Report, like this episode, and don't forget to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button and subscribe to the Smackdown Stew YouTube channel to know when I'm going to be live. So today, what I'd like to talk about, I watched the first couple of episodes of the documentary on Netflix called Unreal, where they lift the veil a little bit and show you more of the behind the scenes and what it takes to put on Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views. And it's very, very interesting. So we're going to get a little bit into that today, maybe a little more, because I actually was told to watch it. My Scotty Montana actually told me that I should watch it because it lifts the veil on the what's going on behind the scenes, and I enjoyed it. Still got a few episodes to go, but what I'm going to explain, and by the way, you could send an email to smackdownstewchannel@gmail.com. You could comment on the Smackdown Stew Facebook page. You can comment right here in the chat, and I'll get to your questions. So what WWE Unreal is it shows how first it shows Triple H in a production meeting asking the question, who should win the Royal Rumble? And what led up to Jay winning the Royal Rumble. And they showed the gorilla position. And the gorilla position is very, very interesting because it's the Triple H is back there. Stephanie sometimes is back there with the executive producer, which is Bruce Pritchard, who used to be Brother Love. I love you. But he's the executive producer. Then you have two other executive producers trying to time the spots and get everything right, which one at that point was Abyss. And then there was another guy. The wrestler was known as Abyss. And what they do, so here's what happens. When they're talking from behind, they have to make sure the spots and the match goes off in the right time and not to go over, even at the end. Even though they're on Netflix, people say you can go 3-4 hours. You can't. So these people in the gorilla position are, and also Triple H, he's the chief, he's responsible for the product. So the chief entertainment officer. So how it works is what they're doing, they're talking to the referee. The referee has an earpiece in his or her ear, and they're talking to them throughout the match. If there's a bump that was a little too hard, they're asking, is he okay? Is he okay? They're telling the referee to tell these guys, okay, this spot, okay, take out this spot, go home, which means finish, go to the finish. They're responsible for the timing to make sure things don't go over. And they're talking to the referee in his ear. Now, back in the day, when the technology wasn't that great and there was no earpieces, it was the timekeeper that was communicating through symbol to the referee. Now, they're all wearing earpieces, so the referee, so the gorilla position is in the ear of the referee, and all the messages to the wrestlers are coming through the referee. So that's very, very interesting. You think you think, it's all from memory, but the referee is telling them, okay, do this or skip this spot, or we're not going to do this. We're going to do this, So, very, very interesting. They also showed, and that's the gorilla position is interesting. They also showed how it came about that Speed ended up in the Royal Rumble. Triple H told Stephanie, keep him talking. The thing was for Tozawa to to get hurt when he's coming to the ring. The person that just got eliminated, knocked him out, kayfabe, and then so they had Triple H told Stephanie that what's going to happen is he's going to say, "Is he okay? Okay." He's going to say, "Speed, you're in the Rumble," and Speed goes in. So there's all those little things. And when Kevin Owens at that time, there was that Saturday night's main event they showed where Kevin Owens Kevin Owens, beat the crap out of Cody. And when the cameras went off, he gave him the pile driver, and then he had the belt in his hand, and Triple H ran and pushed him, and it was, but you showed Triple H that I'm going to go out and confront him. And then in the back, he said, good going. I didn't realize that you were out, like that you were right there when I came out of the back. So it basically showing the behind the scenes, and showing the Royal Rumble and how Jay won. There's going to be one of the Cena heel turn, but on another episode I'll explain that. But it's really showing, not lifting a veil on how it is. Like, you don't know how hard it is to produce. You got to be, timing has to be everything. If a segment goes over, you have to know which moves to take off, like which moves to forget about. Even some wrestlers themselves in the ring called for the finish. Yokozuna and Bret Hart, when they wrestled at WrestleMania 9, there was supposed to be a second part to that match, but because of Yokozuna's weight, he couldn't handle a second part, and said to Bret Hart, "Go home, go to the finish." Mr. Fuji wasn't even ready with the salt, so they had to wait. They had to waste a little time for that. These are all things that are scripted. Not scripted, but these are all things that are controlled in the back. From, okay, you're going to do this, we're going to do that. And they're always saying, is he okay? If they took a big bump when Kevin Owens had a ladder match with Cody Rhodes and he hit his head in the ladder, that when Sami Zayn came out, he's going, is he okay? Is he okay? Check him. They're always talking in the back, and they're constantly producing the show, and it's very, very, very interesting. It's very, very interesting. And people do get hurt, but it shows how at the back they're all slapping each other 5. Nowadays, back then it was not unheard of. It was against the wrestling rule. It was breaking kayfabe for you to for the veil to be lifted. You're not supposed to know if these things are real or not. Now it's wide open. People do it all the time, and because people are smart to the product, they're not stupid. So, and of course, you see John Cena behind me, the former world heavyweight champion. You can't see me. Well, we can see you, John. You're right here. He's behind me. The Macho Man was supposed to make an appearance, but he couldn't make it. Ooh, yeah. But yeah, Unreal does lift a veil on the inner workings of the wrestling business. Now decisions are made, the committee of who should be the champion, how should we do it, what should happen, and they have the people in the production meeting saying, okay, well, fans, we see this is what is going on, so I will talk about more of the episodes as I watch them. I know there's one that's going to be on the heel turn of John Cena. So it's it does lift the veil on on the back of the WWE and showing how it is. In WCW, we don't know how it is. Apparently, storylines when they even started the show, they didn't have the matchup list yet. It was a mess. But there are things that happen in the spur of the moment. If somebody gets hurt and they got to have a replacement for somebody, it's all kind of choreographed or controlled in the gorilla position. They're even telling the cameraman, okay, go in this camera, like fade in on this, like if somebody's bleeding or something, fade in on this, they're talking to the production truck and they're talking. So to produce it, it's not an easy thing to do because you constantly got to speak to the production truck. You're talking to the referee. So it's constantly, constantly, it's constantly, like they're working. It's not easy to do. Next thing I want to talk about September, and September was always WCW Fall Brawl War Games, and that was a concept that was started by Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes started it. He with the 2Ks, and that takes brains. Dusty Rhodes. It was in 1987 at the War Games, and it was Dusty Rhodes' team against the Four Horsemen, and he created it in 1987 for the Jim Crockett Promotions, and then Survivor Series took it. But the first ever was actually in July, but I'm doing this now because that's when War Games continued. At Fall Brawl, we'll probably go back to the War Games when Survivor Series happens. But Fall Brawl, it started. War Games moved because it was at the Great American Bash. It moved to Fall Brawl in 1993. But the first ever War Games, it was a brainchild of Dusty Rhodes. It was the Road Warriors, Nikita Koloff, Dusty Rhodes, and Paul Ellering versus the Four Horsemen: Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Lex Luger, Tully Blanchard, and their manager J.J. Dillon. They went around. They had a few of them, and then Fall Brawl 1993 was when it moved permanently to Fall Brawl, and the first ever War Games at Fall Brawl was Dusty Rhodes' team, which is Dusty Rhodes, Dustin Rhodes, and the Nasty Boys, against Colonel Parker's team of the Terry Funk, Arn Anderson, Bunkhouse Buck, and Colonel Robert Parker himself. The Hulkamaniacs, in 95, the Hulkamaniacs, which was Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Lex Luger, and Sting, took on the Dungeon of Doom, Kamala, the Ugandan Giant, the Zodiac, the Shark, and Ming. Wasn't a great match back then. 1996 was the dawn of the NWO, and that War Games was Hollywood Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and of course the NWO Sting taking on Luger, Lex Luger, Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, and the real Sting came out after. And then in 97, it was the NWO against the Horsemen, Buff Bagwell, Kevin Nash, Six, and Conan against Chris Benoit, Steve McMichael, Ric Flair, and Kurt Hennig, where Kurt Hennig turned heel and slammed the cage door on Ric Flair's head. He turned and joined the NWO. And then there was, of course, Team WCW, Team NWO, and Team NWO Wolfpack. It was a three-team War Games. DDP, Roddy Piper, and the Warrior represented WCW. Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, and Stevie Ray represented NWO Hollywood, and represented Wolfpack, Kevin Nash, Sting, and Lex Luger. And now it's Survivor Series, and we'll talk about the Survivor Series when it comes. But I just wanted to make mention that Fall Brawl, and I believe the first Fall Brawl was 1993. And like I said, it was Sting, Davey Boy Smith, Dusty Rhodes. Sorry, that was 94. 93 was Sting, Davey Boy Smith, Dustin Rhodes, and the Shockmaster against Sid Vicious, Vader, and Harlem Heat. In 1993, it's in 1993. 1994. No, actually, there was one where the Hulkamaniacs in 1995. Sorry, in 1995, it was not supposed to be Lex Luger. Lex Luger jumped ship to WWE, the WCW, after his contract expires and showed up surprisingly on Nitro, but it was actually supposed to be Vader, but Vader left to go to WWE, or he had an injury. It was actually supposed to be Hulk Hogan, Savage, Vader, and Sting that were supposed to be the Hulkamaniacs against the Dungeon of Doom. Fun fact. Of course, in '95, also saw Ric Flair and Arn Anderson wrestling each other. And there's been some great matches at Fall Brawl. That's why. Yeah, that's this month. It will continue at Fall Brawl, and the next Smackdown Stu podcast or Smackdown Stu podcast to come. And the WWE would counter with some pay-per-views. They countered with some pay-per-views in September. So when they started their September pay-per-views, it was in 19, I believe. Let me just take a look here. It was 1995 when the In Your House started. It was September 24th, 1995, September 24th in Michigan. That was the first September pay-per-view. The main event was the Two Dudes with Attitude, Diesel and Shawn Michaels. It was a versus Yokozuna and the British Bulldog, in which the winners take all the tag team match for the WWF World Heavyweight Championship, Intercontinental Championship, and tag. And of course, the Two Dudes with Attitude won that match. In Your House. So then the next year, in 1996, the September pay-per-view was In Your House Mind Games, where Shawn Michaels defended the title against Mankind in the main event. 97 September pay-per-view was Ground Zero, where The Undertaker took on Shawn Michaels, because Shawn Michaels cost him the match at SummerSlam, the pay-per-view before. 1998 was Breakdown In Your House, where Stone Cold Steve Austin defended the title against The Undertaker and Kane in a triple threat match. 1999, the pay-per-view changed to Unforgiven, where it was the six-pack challenge, The Rock versus Mankind versus Kane versus Triple H versus Big Show versus the British Bulldog for the WWF Championship. In 2000, it was Unforgiven in Pennsylvania, where The Rock defended the championship in a fatal four-way against The Undertaker, Chris Benoit, and Kane. In 2001, then it was rebranded Unforgiven for a few years. That was Stone Cold Steve Austin defending the title against Kurt Angle. In 2002, also Unforgiven, Lesnar and The Undertaker for the WWE Championship. In 2003, it was also Unforgiven. Triple H defended the World Heavyweight Championship versus Goldberg. In 2004, also Unforgiven, Randy Orton defended the title against Triple H for the title. In 2005, also Unforgiven, John Cena defended the title against Kurt Angle. In 2006, also Unforgiven, came from right here in Canada at the Air Canada Centre. Edge put the title on the line against John Cena in a tables, ladders, and chairs match. In 2007, also Unforgiven, The Rock, The Undertaker took on Mark Henry. In 2008, also Unforgiven, it was a 5-man championship scramble match between Batista, Rey Mysterio, John Bradshaw Layfield, JBL, and Kane and Chris Jericho for the World Heavyweight Championship. 2009, it turned into the Breaking Point, which was right here in Montreal on September 13th, 2009. From the Bell Center in Montreal, Quebec, CM Punk defended the title against The Undertaker in a submission match. That was an all-submission pay-per-view. In 2010, Night of Champions, and it was the September pay-per-view, which had another six-pack challenge. It was another six-pack challenge between for the WWE Championship. Sheamus versus John Cena versus Randy Orton versus Edge versus Chris Jericho versus Wade Barrett. In 2011, Night of Champions again from the First Niagara Center in Buffalo. CM Punk and Triple H went at it in a no disqualification match. In 2012, it was also Night of Champions. CM Punk defended the title against John Cena. In 2013, Night of Champions, Randy Orton put the title on the line against Daniel Bryan. In 2014, also Night of Champions, Brock Lesnar put the title on the line against John Cena. In 2015, also Night of Champions, Seth Rollins put the title on the line against Sting. In 2016, Backlash came back. Yep, 2016 Backlash came back. Dean Ambrose put the title on the line against AJ Styles. In 2017, was a Mae Young Classic in September, which was Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler. But the actual pay-per-view was No Mercy, in which Brock Lesnar defended the title against Braun Strowman. 2018, the September pay-per-view was Hell in a Cell. Roman Reigns put the title on the line against Braun Strowman in the Hell in a Cell match. In 2019, the September pay-per-view was Clash of the Champions, where Seth Rollins put the title on the line against Braun Strowman. Mingo. What up, Mingo? He's here in the so that was that pay-per-view. And 2020 was the September pay-per-view was Clash of the Champions. Roman Reigns defended the title against Jey Uso, and I guess was in the COVID era. 2021 was Extreme Rules. Roman Reigns put the title on the line against Finn Balor in the Extreme Rules match. In 2022, the September was Clash of the Castle. Roman Reigns put the title on the line against Drew McIntyre. In 2023, it was Payback. Seth Rollins put the title on the line against Shinsuke Nakamura. No, it's not, Mingo. It's not Meatball. I know it. Okay, so then in 2024, the September pay-per-view was No Mercy. Ethan Page, and that was NXT. So it was Bash in Berlin was the end of Gunther versus Randy Orton versus Gunther put the title on against Randy Orton. And this year it's going to be well, there's Worlds Collide, but Clash in Paris is going to be this weekend. The Clash in Paris, so we're going to see it this weekend. No, it's Mingo. I know what Meatball's handle is. Nobody. Only Mr. Gringo. Yeah, live on Meet Me and on the Smakcdown Stu YouTube channel. But yeah, these September pay-per-views, they always change. So yeah, but getting back to the Unreal, it's crazy to show how the behind the scenes work. I know, but it's not Meatball. That's not Meatball. That's Mingo. I could tell. Yeah, he says body slam me. It's Mingo. It's not Mingo. My Mingo. Newfie is on Meet Me, and well, we're gonna probably end it off here. Just wanted to come on and tell you about the Unreal, which is unbelievable. I'll be watching more episodes, and I'll be streaming the episodes. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, to the Smackdown Stu Report, or like the Smackdown Stu Report. Subscribe to the Smackdown Stu podcast to see more content to know when I'm going to be going live, you can send an email to smackdown2channel at gmail.com. Look on the Smackdown 2 Facebook page. You can comment. And so until the next time, keep an eye out if you subscribe. Keep your eye out in the keep your eye out if you subscribe to know when I'm coming up and do another Smackdown 2 report next week. This is Smackdown 2 saying ciao for now.